Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So one of my biggest disappointments here in the United States, and I thought transitory inflation would put this habit to put the kibosh to this habit. But so many Americans surround their lives around eating. We want to stuff our faces, and I invite you to try this if you have time this week. Go to the shopping mall and just sit down at the food court and watch people eat. It is one of the most repulsive things if you really tune into it, right? If you don't just sit there and do your stuff and let the eating be a background, but actually watch somebody as they eat, right? And if you dare, depending on I wouldn't recommend just randomly doing this to somebody, but just make a comment. Gee, that's a huge bite out of your burger, your hot dog, whatever, and watch the response to that. It's not going to be pretty, but the point is to learn about our culture, right? And gee, it's like sometimes I wish I could vomit on command. The first time I ever did it, I probably vomited. I would so much love to make myself vomit when I see that, just to show my disapproval for it. I really would. Unfortunately, I've gotten used to it, which I probably shouldn't, but it's really repulsive. The second most repulsive thing in the United States is if you ever try dating and you meet somebody and within who knows how many days the person's already taking their clothes off, right? There is so much more to life than those two activities. And that's unfortunate because the cure for cancer, the cure for COVID-19, the discovery of chemical element 119, it really could be in the mind of somebody who's just too busy eating and fucking, right? I hate people who center their lives around eating and fucking. Don't get me wrong. I eat and fuck from time to time too, but I wouldn't center my life or the joys of life around those two things, right? During the pandemic, I had thought the pandemic would at least resolve the eating part of things because people would go to the store, their favorite food would be sold out, and they would have to be more open-minded, right? Either A, try something else, or better yet, stop eating so much. I really thought when I first heard about the pandemic in February of 2020, I really thought that would be one direction it would play out. I was naive. And unfortunately, we all know how it played out. People got into fights at the grocery store, and then when they finally got what they could, they stuffed their faces. They hardly even enjoyed it. And as much as inflation might kill us by starving us to death, probably more people have died from eating too much during these last few years than even the pandemic itself. I mean, granted, there's an overlap, right? Some people probably died as a result of both the synergy of them eating too much and catching COVID-19, right? But I would imagine the people who died from eating too much alone probably dwarfs those who died of COVID-19 alone, right? Uh, but it's really, really disgusting when I think about it. The next attitude shift I wish for the United States is that we be more open-minded to different ways of life, right? So, for example, it's not as acutely bad where I work right now, but I still work with a lot of people who are in committed relationships or married. And these days, I actually do want to meet a life partner. I just don't want to fuck a life partner. But I want to meet a life partner because of how burnt out I was this last couple of months with some career matters. And it would have been nice to have somebody that we could beat at the same wavelength at. And so we can work together to build our lives together, right? That I do want. Just please, no fucking, and eat correctly, please, right? Okay, but my colleagues have a difficult time understanding that I like to have personal time too, so that I could meet the right person, right? Some of my colleagues already are married and have children, and for some reason, it's kind of like giving welfare to the rich, right? The people who have already had all this privilege to do all of that stuff, we give even more resources to do greater things with, right? It really does feel like welfare for the rich, the way we handle marital differences at work. It really does feel like that. That's the best analogy I can think of. Unfortunately, we love welfare for the rich here in the United States, right? I'm not sure how other countries handle differences in marital status at work. In Japan, it's probably a lot more people are single, probably anyway, right? I think in Taiwan, it's handled a whole lot more better. We're a lot more open. We're really sensitive here in the United States, right? That gets me to my next attitude shift that I think we should have. So many people get angry and after they break up, when in reality, breaking up should be a graduation from a relationship, right? Every relationship I've had, I've learned a lot from, right? I rarely like to think of it as breaking up. It's more like graduating from a relationship, even the bad ones that I've had. So when I was working on my PhD, I had a girl who took advantage of me financially and spiritually, and I almost dropped out of school as a result. My mom is still very upset that I got involved in that. Every time that's part of the reason why I don't go home anymore. She has a terrible attitude for the past. And so, but when I think back on it, a lot of things that I have today I wouldn't have had I not graduated from that one relationship, right? It helped me discover that I could go out and have fun without the girl. It helped me actually I don't know if I would have graduated from my PhD studies had I not had that hiccup, because after that I became a lot more cautious about various things, and it also gave me perspective. Or when I had tough days at my PhD work, it gave me a perspective to compare against, right? Also, it brought about a lot of sympathy, especially after I broke up with or graduated from her and changed my ways and really worked hard to turn things around, right? Had I not had that, it could have played out very differently, right? Now, what would have been nice, part of the reason, I allowed myself to get suckered into that relationship was that I was working with a lot of my classmates were married or at least had a committed relationship, and they excluded me from a lot of things. See, here's the other attitude shift I want you. So this weekend, again, go back to that food court at the mall and watch people who are on dates, right? You might see a double date or 3 couples or 4 couples together. I guarantee you will never see a multiple date with an odd number of people. Guaranteed it's even, and most of the time the same number of men and women, right? You're lucky to see an even number with different number of men and women. I guarantee you'll never count an odd number of people on a multiple date, and that is sad. That is sad. I wish we would include people who either do not want to connect with another human being or have not found the right person. I've been on both sides of that equation, by the way. All right, so open your mind, please. Open your fucking mind. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Ba 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 ba. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.